So
Okay, let's groovy.
Let's groovy. Yeah. Let's get groovy.
Hi and welcome to the Smart Bear webinar about Groovy scripting. As you can notice, I'm not Niklas. Some of you might have expected him here, but he's currently in Boston. So today we're gonna start. I'm Ulrika, I'm Scrum Master at Smart Bear, and this is
my name is
Steve Jobs. No.
Yeah,
Steve Jobs. Yeah, cool.
Well,
from now on, anyway.
It was very cold outside, you know.
Yeah.
I have to wear this shirt. Yeah, I'm Eric Everling. I'm one of the SoapUI developers here.
Yeah, I'm Henrik. I'm also one of the SoapUI developers. So we're gonna try to guide you through this grooving stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very nice to see that there's so much interest in this topic, because there are a lot of things to cover here. So
yeah, we will cover the basics today, and for all of you that have more advanced questions, we suggest you go to our forum, where there's a lot of experienced scripters out there, and please show your interest in the Twitter hashtag, the UIQA. And if there is a lot of interest for advanced topics, we might run another one later on. Today it's focused on the basics in Groovy and SoapUI. So
yeah, and also maybe we should mention that everything we're showing here, every links and all that will be, of course, be available after the webinar. So you don't have to hurry out and grab a pen or anything like that. So just sit back, relax, and we'll show you.
Yeah, and the example is going to be posted on the SoapUI and LoadUI websites afterwards. Yeah. So
cool.
Cool.
All right, so
start.
Are we ready to roll? All right, so yes, Groovy. A little bit of background, maybe. What is Groovy? Well, Groovy is a dynamic language that could be used for scripting. And the neat thing about Groovy is that it's very compatible with Java, which is the programming language SoapUI is written in. Actually, Groovy translates this into bytecode, which is the same thing that Java is using under hood, so to say. So they're very compatible. And also, Groovy syntax is very compatible with Java syntax. So if you have knowledge in Java, it's very easy to transition into Groovy. Yeah, enough about Groovy, maybe. So if you show my screen, here we go. Yeah, I'll start by showing you the Groovy main website, which is at the Codehouse. So here you can find everything about Groovy, and also, of course, you can download it and install it on your machine. And it actually comes with quite a nice set of tools to be able to run Groovy scripts. And one of those tools is called the Groovy console, which is a little GUI editor / runtime environment. You probably have seen these types of tools before, like an interactive shell or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, so using this Groovy console, you can actually run Groovy scripts on the fly, so to say. So if we head down here to the website, to the front page, they have provided us with some nice Hello World examples that we could try out just to see how it works. So let's just paste this first example. copy it, and let's paste it into the to the Groovy console like this. And then we go to script run here to run the script, and there you go. There you have your classic hello world printout. So well, what this does is that is very basic. It's actually just defines a variable here called name, uses that in this printout using something called g-strings, which is kind of nice. Yeah, so that's the very basic example of using Groovy and running your first Groovy script. There's also a slightly more advanced example here to show you. Yeah, where is it here? To show you the object-oriented nature of Groovy, because Groovy is indeed object-oriented. So you are able to define classes, which you probably recognize if you're working with languages like Java or similar. So in this case, basically this creates a new class called greet, and using the constructor, it takes the parameter here, the who parameter, and it uppercase the first letter here. Then it initializes this name field to that, and then we have this salute method, which is used to print out that variable within this Groovy string. So in theory, this would print out hello world as before here. And you should see here's the W in lowercase. So hopefully this will make it into uppercase and print. So let's try to run that. See what happens, if it works. Yeah, seems so. Printed hello world here again. Alright, nice. So what about SoapUI? How does this relate to SoapUI, and how do you run this within SoapUI? Well, it's actually pretty straightforward to run this within SoapUI. If we go to this project that I created, which is basically just an empty project, we can create a new test suite. Let's just call it test suite, and then a test case. And here we can create something called a Groovy script test step, which is basically a test step for running any kinds of Groovy script. So let's name that something like hello world, maybe. Capital W. And let's try to copy paste this example right into the SoapUI. And let's try to run it and see if it works. Well, we didn't get any error or anything like that, obviously, but we didn't get any printout either, right? And that's because, well, it uses print line here, which prints to the system out console. And if you want to get this into one of the panels here, we have to use something else. And actually, in SoapUI, in most Groovy editors, there's this log object available, which is basically a logger, if you're familiar with that. It's an object for logging. So what we could do is that we could try to log it to the script log rather than using print line here. So if you just change this to instead return the string, and then then this will actually get the string return, right? So you want to print out the return value of this method call. So let's use log info there, and hopefully it will show us the hello message down here. Cross your fingers. Yeah, worked. So as you can see, by just changing this, we're actually able to get the printout in SoapUI instead. And also, of course, you can get the printout while running the test case. So if we run this test case, the printout ends up in this log, which is kind of a global script log. So everything you log here within SoapUI ends up here. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for getting started, I would say. Do we have any questions now? Or
we had one question here from Alan. He's asking if we are planning on updating our API documentation.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll show you in a bit. The API documentation as it looks now, it's generally the whole SoapUI API documentation that we have now, and what we maybe wants to do in the future is to narrow it down to the Groovy, the objects that are mostly used within Groovy. But for now there is no plans really for that. But yeah, we know that that's a requested feature.
Yeah.
Let's say.
I should also say something about the agenda for today. Now, when we have done one of the examples, I should tell that we plan to show a few examples. One was this: is this how to get started, and then we have some. We will show how to get and set properties. Many have asked for that before, and also show some how you work with event handlers, which also many have asked for, and how to create your own Groovy library. And then we will wrap up on the end with Q&A, and also we will, in between the examples here, add some questions that writes on the Twitter and the live stream chat.
Yeah. So feel free to ask questions during the demonstrations here, and we will try to answer them.
There are many questions coming in the chat, and some of them we are going to cover as we go, I guess. Yeah, some of them are quite large in scope and may or may not be possible to cover today. But in general, keep in mind that Groovy is a programming language with the full capability of its own language and any and all Java libraries that you can find. So you can do everything you want. It's just a matter of how complex it can get.
But we can also this one maybe. What version of the Groovy interpreter does SoapUI 4.5.1 use?
1.8, or did we upgrade?
Yeah, I'm not sure either, actually.
You can look in the link folder, perhaps.
Yeah, we could probably figure that out by just going here. As you say, it's probably not the latest one, at least. It's 1.8.0.
Yeah, and what 1.8.0, and what program languages can be used with Groovy.
Basically, Groovy is the language, more or less. But you can also, without much trouble, straight off use Java. Those are the basic two languages that you can use without any hassle. You can run other things as well because it's just a Java virtual machine underneath. But by default, it's Groovy and Java. Yes.
Right,
Should we go
so
to
the next example?
the next planned topic?
Yes. Carrying on. Okay, so for this demonstration, we'll have Henrik here showing you how to get and set properties, right?
Yeah, getting and setting properties. As all of you know, SoapUI is very much focused around the concept of properties. They show up basically everywhere in SoapUI, and they are and it's very much possible to do set and get properties in Groovy as well in SoapUI. So we have cheated a little bit and created a little project. It is using the
Currency converter.
yeah, the currency converter web service that has a very simple form like this. It translates from one currency to another. The exchange, the currency rate between two currencies, say Swedish crowns and US dollars or something. And this is not in itself so funny. So we should create a test case from this, and from there on we can start working with our properties. The idea here is to simply parameterize one of the currencies, let's say the from currency, and make it configurable in properties. And using this, we will manipulate this property in Groovy and see how it behaves, basically. I assure you, it's going to work. The demo devil is not going to interfere. Because it never does. Okay, here we go. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, now we have this this test request, which still has these by default generated question marks where the actual input to the service is supposed to be entered. So, as I promised, we're going to have a property. And we put it on the test case level for convenience. It can be basically on any level. But let's put it here. And we add it, and from currency, perhaps? That should convey the meaning. I cannot stress, but your developers and testers, you know the value of meaningful property names, but it cannot be stressed enough. So, and let's say we put euro there as an example. It could be basically anything. And what do we do now? We wanted to manipulate this on the fly, which means that we do it during testing. That means that we need a test step for this. So, as you might suspect, we're using a Groovy script step. Maybe get. We want to get the from currency, and when I say get, I really mean log. So maybe we should do that. And now we're in the script view, which Eric showed you before. You have access to a logger, so you can log something. Where is? Mac.
Damage for
keyboard.
working too much on a
Yeah,
Mac.
keyboards. You can't change keyboards. It's bad. Like that, and we can just run it and see what happens. Oh, we get the from, but unfortunately with nothing in it. So what do? We use we're lazy, so we use this feature that is available in SoapUI Pro. Namely, you can right-click in the editor and just go to Get Data. And then you go to the test case level and select the from currency property that we selected here. This could be from a data source or anything that you have. Anything that emits properties in SoapUI, you could have selected here. So it's not at all restricted to this kind of static property of putting it on the test case level. And we just we name it something. That's fine. It gives us this from currency in a predefined Groovy variable. Is the pace? Is it too fast? Too slow?
Okay, that's good.
So, and now we should be done, I guess. Should we run it? Or we're not done, but we're done with this step. If it works, of course.
Yay!
Yay! And here it is. So, and that wasn't really fun. So we want to change it. And we want to move this one up because we want to do it before. And we insert another Groovy script step. And we call it change from currency. Ooh, I can't spell. That's okay. Cool. So now, what do we have? Up in the right corner, or not really the corner, but up in the right part of the Groovy Editor, where the mouse is, basically, you see some information here. That means that there are 3 variables automatically available to us, and this is the log, which we've seen, and there is a context object that holds a lot of fun stuff. Basically, a lot of data that goes on during test execution is kept in this context. It's a common pattern in state machines and stuff to have a context object that keeps the current state available. So this is basically what that is. And we have then one of the more interesting objects is the test runner object. It's kind of fun, and we're going to use it. In order to change a property, we need a hold of the actual test case object that is being executed right now. So we're going to put that in a variable test case like that, and then we go with the test runner. And depending on what platform you're on, this is either case sensitive or not, I believe. In Windows, you can probably write it like this.
You should mind the casing, probably.
Yeah, mind the casing just to be safe.
That's good practice. Anyway,
and keep them as defined in the upper right corner. And then we just get test case like this.
So, can I ask a question?
Sure, you can ask any questions.
So how do I know?
But you should know it.
Yeah, I should. But still, how do I know that this get test case method is available? Could we go to the API maybe, or I have a look.
There are a few things. Should we
Or-
do the Groovy way first, or
Yeah, sure, we could.
okay? We can see if that works this time.
Yeah.
So there are some funny things available in Groovy, such as the Manta Claws. It goes something like this. You have an object in Groovy, and it has some sort of a companion structure called Manta Claws that you can use and query for things. And all you super Groovy savvy people might you may have to have some leniency with me here, because I'm not originally a Groovy hacker, so I may call things by the wrong name. But a meta class is sort of runtime information about what's available on an object. Right? You know this much better.
Right.
So, meta class, and you see it recognizes it. That's funny. Methods, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Methods, and this is funny. You want to select all the methods, and
The name of it.
and the name, and we can run this and see if I spelled it correctly. Yeah, you see, in this long log statement, you get a whole lot of things going on. Like, let's see if we can find our. Yeah, here it is. Here you see where the mouse is.
Hard to see, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to see, but it's there.
Yeah.
And you can clearly see that there is a method get test case, and this can be fun. For example, if you don't know even where to begin in the documentation, for example, this meta class methods.name is a good thing to have. Otherwise, we can go to the documentation and we search for. Do we know what it is? Right?
Yeah, exactly. How should we maybe show? There is also a trick to know what class to look for. So if you just log the test runner dot class,
Yeah, we can do that. Just
we can get the information from there. Right? So this is a bit hacky, but
like that, straight up.
yeah, exactly. That will probably work as well.
Didn't I?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Oh, this is actually funny, because now it says mock test runner, and that's true actually, because we're running it from this test step case. So what we have to do to make it run properly is to see what we're actually looking for is running the whole thing, and it's really fun that the request worked, but it probably didn't.
Okay, so
Where is the script log?
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Okay, here we see. So if you run it on the test case, you get the correct class that is used to perform this test, and it's called WSDL test case runner. So I cheated a little bit. Here we go. And basically, what's hardest about this is basically to find the right class.
Yeah.
Like Eric said, you have to use some hacky ways to find the correct class to look for. But and let's see if we can.
But using the logger to log the class is usually a good way to navigate.
Yeah.
And maybe use the API docs, or you could use the meta class.
Yeah, this is a couple of ways you can do it. And now, what do? We get this test, get hold of the test case, and simply store it in a variable, and then we want to set set the property on this class, and as you might know, the method to use is very intuitive. And this is a method that takes a key. And what did we use? We used, let's see, from currency. And then we're going to change it to what? Swedish crowns?
Yeah.
That's it. Let's see if we can... if we can run it here and make it change. Oh. Yeah.
Cool.
Where the mouse is on the lower left corner, you can now see that the from currency has been changed to Swedish crowns. And that's not surprising, of course, since we tried this before we got in here. But finding method names and object names is the key, I would say. After that, it's just programming and things like this. So now we're going to do the fun part. It seems like you want to say something, Eric.
No.
Okay.
I was just thinking. So if we look at the request here,
yeah. So we say that we're going to hard code the to currency. We could do the same thing for to currency as we do on the from currency, but let's not. It's just more of the same. So we use again this get data thing that is available, and we go to the test case level, and now we select it here, and now we can run it. You see, it failed actually before, so.
We didn't have a good enough assertion, maybe we should say, probably.
Yeah. Oh. And here we get the result, which is expected, I must say, but still. And the raw request, you can clearly see that this property expansion has been replaced with the Swedish crowns instead. And one thing to... did we get any questions simultaneously, or?
Yeah, not surprisingly, we get a lot of questions about the auto-completion.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yes.
the good old auto-completion. We're basically talking a lot about it ourselves. It's just that the problem with any and all products is that you have to decide what to do, and this is pretty high on the list, but it's not on the top of the list, unfortunately. We want to do it, and we're going to do it sometime, but we just can't say when.
And also auto-completion for Groovy, which is a dynamic language, is kind of tricky, right?
It's pretty tricky.
Yeah.
It's you don't have compiler information available.
Yeah.
There are clever things you can try and do, and we can of course have from all the Mac people are used to, probably from TextMate and stuff like snippets and these things, and that's probably what goes in first, I think.
Yeah, also we have a question here from Matthew that can you show how to read properties in Groovy from a properties file?
I don't believe we have time for that, but that's certainly possible.
It's not
in various ways. I don't know why you want to use Groovy for.
You can read the properties files in SoapUI and read them as properties in the Groovy.
Yeah, that's probably
That's
easier.
probably easiest. But other than that, you have the whole Java world of code, the properties objects.
Yeah, exactly.
Load from file. It's readily available. We could perhaps show them. We can provide links maybe later.
Yeah,
to
sure.
It's not hard at all. It's just we have to
We have,
Maybe we have time after
we have kind of a
in the
related
Q&A.
one. There were several related, but one was like, can I use a Groovy class created in Eclipse with all its libraries inside SoapUI?
Yeah, kinda. We'll show you how to use external libraries. In the coming topics. So
in the Eclipse case,
hopefully we are able to address that question later on.
And if you want to be nice to your fellow testers, you should clone, right? You should, of course, clean up your changes, or maybe we can like call it revert. And this test case would then just simply set it back to Euro. So that's a common practice to clean up, and in this case it's trivial. But in other cases where you're loading data from databases, this can be fairly complex and require some strategy and thought, which is probably where your experience as testers and developers are more valuable than the actual Groovy coding. But good practice to clean up after you've run something.
And maybe also if you want to do it even cleaner, you should maybe use a temporary property in this
Absolutely,
case, to avoid problems with synchronization.
You could you could make it nicer by having a temporary property. Like.
But you'll figure that out, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right.
More questions?
Do you have any other questions before we continue to...
one about properties from Groovy user. He or she has tried with the property but didn't seem to work with multiple threads.
Right.
All right.
Is that too specific or?
Yeah, that kind of depends, I guess. I mean,
this is actually where some configuration in SoapUI needs to be done, I think. And this multi-threaded programming is difficult in any language, and in a language that is so easy to get running as Groovy, it becomes treacherously dangerous, because something is very easy to do but can have subtle effects in a multi-threaded environment. But things like I said, or Eric said, using temporary properties would definitely make things safer. Making defensive copies of data, basically, is what is a good strategy. It takes up more memory, but at least you're not running the risk of corrupting the other thread's data. So, but this is a whole. It's just too much to go into any detail, and it's a very complex area. Really serious bugs in commercial grade software has been tracked down to multi-threaded bugs. So it's something I wouldn't advise you to do unless you're really savvy or just plain crazy. So.
Right. Should we carry on or?
Yeah, I have another one here. Can I package my SoapUI Groovy script in jar? Or
yeah, you should be able to do that. I'll show you how to read it from jar files in a bit, and also custom libraries. But yes, that should be possible. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get going with the third topic for this evening, namely event handlers, which is of course a huge part of the Groovy scripting capabilities in SoapUI, and also a very requested feature. Or yeah, you guys want to know more about event handlers, basically. All right. So what is event handlers in SoapUI? Well, basically it is it's places where you can run your scripts on a certain event, such as is to see here. Here I have an simple a project here using the same currency converter service as we used before. This is a public service, by the way, so you can try it yourself. Here we have, for instance, tabs for load script, save script, report script, and actually the save script, for instance, it will be called whenever you're saving your project. So that could be used to hook into the saving action if you want. To do some kind of other operations while saving. And there's also this events tab on the project level that you may see here. So if we go into that, you see that there's this table here where we can define our event handlers. So if we click this add button, we'll get this list of available event handlers. As you can see, it's kind of lengthy. There's a lot of stuff to choose from here. You have something called request filters, something called test suites runner listeners, which operates on the test suite. You have listeners for load testing, also security testing down here, and mock services. I believe you have something for that, or monitors at least. Yeah, mock something here. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. So you can, I mean, you can really dive into all this and spend probably a week examining all these kind of events handlers. But today I'm going to show you one of the basic event handlers, namely the something called submit listener before sorry, I actually going to start with after submit. Yeah, so this event handler is called whenever or just before you make a request. So let's as before add this request to a test case like that. Let's just call it conversion rate. There you go. Okay, so well, as just before, basic request. Maybe we should put some values here just for the sake of it. Sect of Nook. That's the Norwegian crowns, by the way. Oh man, I knew it. All right. This is kind of depressing. But anyways, okay. So we have this basic request. So let's try to hook into this request and run this event handling whenever this request is run. Okay, so going back to the event handlers tab here, we can start with just logging some message just to show that it works. Sorry, doing request now. Right, so let's run that. Let's have a look in the script log here. Yeah, there is our little message. As you see, it shows every time we run this, and it should show even here. So every time we run the request, basically this event handler kicks in. Okay, cool. So what if we want to do some more useful stuff with this? Let's say we want to log an header. Well, as previously, we had to start somewhere using one of these variables, and actually there is this submit variable that we can have a look at. So if we do this classic little trick of logging the actual object here, sorry, submit, running the test case again, we'll see that this is an Whistle submit class. So let's head into the API docs once again and search for that. Whistle submit. There you go. Right. Alright, so this class has a few methods. And the most important ones are this get request and get response, right, that we want to use. So if we want to log the response header, we probably want to use this get response method to get a response. And actually, either you do it like this, get response, or you can do some syntactic sugar here in Groovy and actually omitting the get part and making that lowercase, and that will be equivalent. It will do the same. It will call the get method there. So let's try to. Did I miss something here?
Yeah, and there's a typo.
Oh, response. Oh, sorry. Thank you for catching that.
And again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Who?
Oh.
You have to use a Mac keyboard.
Yeah, probably. Or what? Or oh man, I'm going to be
but
labeled as the Mac guy forever.
But seriously, guys, this is a case for code completion. So
yeah, exactly. Sure.
We realize that these things happen. It's,
we realize why every one of you is asking for code completion, because we want it as well. All right, but continuing. Let's try to run this as well, or to see what kind of object this response is, or which class it has, which type. Well, this is a Whistle single part HTTP response. Fine little class. So let's try to go to that quickly. Whistle, what's it called? Oh, single part should be a response. There you go, right? Yeah, because this actually this is it could be another class depending on what kind of response you got there. So so it's important that you do this kind of log info thing. Anyways, okay, so let's look for some ways to get the headers here then. The response headers. Is there something? Yeah, here we have something called get response headers. Sounds like what's we're looking for, right? Okay, cool. Let's try to call that method then using this response. That's right. Did I spell that correctly? Oh wow. Okay, so here you have the headers in a nice map, I believe it is. So actually this is the same header as this one, right? So if you have a look at this, no, sorry, the response, sorry. This xasp.net, I guess that's some kind of, I don't know what that is. It's the same headers down here as in this raw tab, right? So this is the actual response headers. Great. Okay, so now we verify that. We could, like for instance, if we just want to log the ASP.NET version header, because this is a map, we could use that as a key. And this is a string map. I know. So let's use this. Okay, so let's try to run it using that key and see if we only get the value there. Yeah, cool. Alright. Yeah. So, and finally, maybe we want to format this a bit nicer. So let's just make this into a variable, maybe call version like that, and just log info. Header value like this, something like that, right? See if that works as well. Oh, did I type something wrong here? No, not value, version, right? Yeah, there you go. Okay. So managed to catch the we managed to catch the header value here and log it. Great, and of course you could do a lot of more stuff with this, but just logging it, you can do whatever you like. Okay, so what if we actually want to insert an HTTP header rather than just log it from the response? So if we want to insert an HTTP header into the request. The way to do that, or one way to do that, is to use this before submit event header, which is well, the opposite of after submit. Basically, it's called just before you make your request. And here you have access to the submit variable as previously, and as you may remember here. If we go to that class quickly, there is this get request method here, right? Right. So we could probably do something like submit dot request.
One thing to note is a lot of these methods on the request and the response have analogous methods and values, especially headers, of course, is a typical thing, but many of them have corresponding things that you can guess pretty much what it is.
Great. Yeah. So let's do it like this. Let's yet again log that to request call. See which type it is. Okay, so it's a WSDL test request. So let's go to that class definition and see here, and hopefully there will be some kind of equivalent to the get response headers, some kind of get request headers or something like that, or maybe set request headers. Yeah, here's something, right? I actually have two here. This is kind of duplicated stuff, I believe. But this is what we want. This is a method to add your custom headers using a so-called strings to strings map, which is a custom collection that SoapUI is defining. Is actually extending a hash map. Anyways, so that's how we call it.
But it's also a multimap, right? It can hold multiple values for each key, right?
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. String to strings map. You're right. So that's probably exactly. That's the difference. Anyway, but this is one way. Okay, so yeah, so we have this set. What was it called? Request headers, right? Yeah, set request headers using this something. Yeah. Okay, so then we have to define such a collection, I guess. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, like in Java, Groovy had this notion of importing classes. So you can actually import pretty much every SoapUI class right directly into your Groovy script. So if you just type import the package name of that class, like that, and finally the class itself, like that, you will have that class available to you. So let's define a new variable called headers. Sorry, I'm a bit confused here. Are we actually using the same? Maybe there's a lot more ways to do this, because I believe that actually it's enough to use a string-to-string map. Actually, yeah. So let's use that instead. I think there are a lot of ways to do this. Yeah, exactly.
They're overloaded methods.
Yeah, okay, exactly. That was the difference. I didn't. Yeah, of course. Exactly. So you could use either, I guess. But just to make it a bit more simple, we can use this string-to-string map.
It depends on what you want to accomplish.
I guess so.
If you want to make sure that there can only be my value to my key,
exactly,
then use the one-to-one mapping. Otherwise, you use the one-to-many.
Yeah, you're right. All right, carrying on. Let's use this string-to-string map. So let's just instantiate that, creating that using this new keyword, as you may recognize from Java, and then just let's put in a setter. I believe, but yeah. Okay, so here we can put our own header. So let's name that something creative as my cool header, which has the cool value in it, something like that. And then we just could use these headers variable in this set request headers call, right? So that will pass that onto the request headers. All right, so that should be it for this event handler, I guess. Let's try to run this and see if it works actually. And as you see here, you can actually disable event handler. So for instance, if you don't want to have that header value printed out all the time, we can actually just disable it like that. Okay, so let's try to run this and see if it works. Okay, didn't fail here. So let's what I did now is that I in the test log I clicked on the step here to get the so-called message chains. Kind of what happened here. So let's go to the raw tab here for this request and see if we get that header there. And yeah, we did. Cool. So the header was added as we expected. Right. Right. So for the last example, in this section, I like to show you something called before test case, because this is also a very useful event handler, or actually all of these are, because here you have hooks into the test cases and the test steps. So if you want to do something between each test step or between each test case, you could use one of these. So for instance, let's create an after test, before a test case event handler like this. So suppose we want to show some kind of message that you have to, some kind of dialogue that you have to click OK on before the test case is run. How could we do about doing that? Well, actually, a good tip for you is that there is this UI support class in SoapUI, which is, as the name kind of suggests, an utilities class for bunch of UI goodies. For instance, here you can create prompts, you can create error messages, various kinds of dialogues, and there also this thing called show info message, which I will show you now. So as before, if you want to use this class, you have to import it first, using import, and I know that the package is com-ever SoapUI support UI support. Yeah, that should be correct. And well, this is a static method, so we can call it right away. No need to create that object. Show info message. So let's say we want to show a message like run. Then we have the, you see, you have the test case variable here, as you remember, and that actually has a name method on it. I won't show you in the docs now, but you have to trust me for it. Right. So what? Sorry. There you go. So hopefully this will show us a message before this test case is run, and then run it. Right, so let's try that. And actually, because this is a test suite run listener, you have to run it from the test suite level. Otherwise it won't be called. So let's run it and see what happens. And maybe also, well, maybe disable the otherwise, just for the sake of it. Yeah, okay, so now we get this dialogue showing, and also, as you can see here, pretty interesting, it's actually blocking the execution here, which could be useful if you want to have some kind of manual interaction before you run the test case. So if we hit OK here, it runs. Yeah, and that's it for basic event handling. Should we take some questions in the meanwhile, or
we will move on. Yeah, we will move on and try to answer some of your questions on Twitter and in the live stream. Right now, we will end with Q&A, but I think we have some topics to cover. We want to show the Twitter API and event handling, and also creating your own Groovy library. So we move on and try to answer on Twitter for few minutes.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so maybe Hank, you had some Twitter example here.
Yeah,
You can show.
it's actually an example of how to put filters into some context. They can be quite abstract, and you just often you can just note that the filters are there and cool. You can log stuff. You can put headers in there. What do I do with it? It's like, well, yeah, awesome. I have a calculator, but I have nothing. I have no money to count. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so this is actually something that takes a bit of work, but we're going to make this available for you. You can try it yourself, the entire project, no worries. You don't have to feel intimidated. You can try it yourselves whenever you want. But we have taken a bit of a shortcut because we don't have time. So.
This was actually sent to us by our dear friend Ole, right?
Yeah,
the
Ole, the founder, one of the core founders of SoapUI, basically.
You can see him on the chat.
Yeah, he's in the chat,
there.
lurking or maybe talking. He is around, like, yeah. But Ole made this lovely little test case, and Twitter has. Quite an astounding little service here. You can perhaps see it to the left here. It has like your mentions, your timeline, and your home timeline, which is, I guess, your followers and the retweets, etc. And they have versioning and stuff like this as well. So,
and this is a REST API, right?
Yeah, this is a REST API. The problem is that in a lot of the what's hard with Twitter is not actually doing the stuff, but rather to getting something out of them. And there has been a lot of talk in the blogosphere, etc., on how the Twitter authentication has become difficult, and people can't handle OAuth, and how do we test? How do we do it? And Ole has actually made this quite possible and easy actually as well. So we have created a search request where we search for SoapUI basically. The request in a more raw format looks like this. We want JSON. We want to use the 1.1 version, and we want to search for SoapUI. So we just run it here, and oh, bam! This is what usually happens when you try to invoke Twitter. You get an error saying something about bad authentication data. You're screwed. So we won't give you what you need. So unfortunately, they have made it possible to actually get some data, and this is the OAuth thing, what it's all about. So you need 4 basically keys and tokens and secrets to make this work. 4 values. And what I've done here, or rather Ole did, and we filled in the values, is simply defining these as properties on the project level. And after you do this, it all magically works, as you will see. Now you can see these. I'm not exposing all of them, because then you can flood Eric's timeline.
What? Are you using my account?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You know, it's possible. So. But so I'm not showing all of them just for prudence, but they are there, trust me. And now we run it again, and woo!
Something is wrong. Yet.
Did I type it incorrectly?
I know. I think I know what's going on here. You need something else to get this running, right?
I do.
You need some kind of third party. libraries. Maybe.
Ah, you're right. You see, because as
Good thing you have me.
it's very good. It's very good. There was something we could possibly see it in the error logs. How do I scroll with this computer? Ooh, you see. In the error log, it clearly states that something is not right.
Yeah.
And it's just... it's not very hard to decipher this once you've seen it once or twice and fixed it. It just... the key is the unable to resolve the class here.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, SoapUI can't just find the some of the components that we're actually using in the what's it called? The headers, the events. Here we have a filter request, and in this one we're using a third-party library called actually. Do we have it?
Signpost.
Signpost. Yeah, we even have it somewhere.
Yeah, here's the webpage for it.
A very nice little third-party library available here that you can use to your heart's content if you want to use any kind of OAuth functionality in your own app or in SoapUI or in whatever app. So it's pretty nice. Yeah. So how do we fix this then? Maybe you guys know this already, but in SoapUI we have the bin ext folder in the install. What did I do? Yeah, in the install folder of SoapUI, there is a bin folder, which in turn has an ext folder. In here, you just put these things, these two libraries, signpost commons.http and signpost core. So we just...
and you can get those from the site.
Yeah, you can download them from the site. And they are pretty nice quality and easy to use. So I recommend you to simply to use them for whatever.
And this could be your own jars as well, right?
You could put any kind of Java library in here.
So if you have some kind of jar that your company has developed, anything that you can put it there, because there were some questions regarding that, I believe.
Yeah.
So this is basically how you import Java.
Yeah, if I would guess that stuff like LDAP authentication or I don't know SSH access. There's been some questions before the webinar about things like this, and this is basically where you put most of the things. So drivers, JDBC drivers, for example.
Those are good.
Those are good
little things.
So now we have
to restart.
We have to restart SoapUI. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. I was a little bit worried there for a second, but no one noticed, so we're safe. So.
Oh, and there's a webinar going on here. Cool.
Cool. I wonder who these guys are. So, and now just let's run the whole test suite. It's just one request, basically.
Cross our fingers.
Is it running? Yeah, it's running. Oh, and it's green. Which is, of course, intended as well. So we can go to our the request here, and we can see in the raw. The thing is, what our little library did from Signpost was add this whole long thingamajiggy here. You can see it's very long, and you could create it yourself. It's not very difficult. But if you don't want to mess with it, or you don't know how to do it, you just use this library instead. And the nice thing about this is that it actually should work on all kinds of requests here. And that's the nice part about these filters. Actually, we can just configure these tiny little snippet. Basically, it's just like 10 lines or something. I think Ole wanted to make it pretty, so he actually broke it down in several lines. But these are actually one-liners. You see the comma here, etc.
Yeah,
so it's 1, 2, 3 lines of code basically to do this, and it applies to all the requests. And this basically highlights what you really want to use the events for. Yeah, when you want to apply stuff wide and broad. Why is it? You could, of course, do this perhaps in a step or things like this as well. It would require you to do it many times for all the requests, but now it will transparently be applied to all your outgoing requests to Twitter, which is nice. It saves time, a lot of time, I would say. So yeah.
And here we see also another way of using the SoapUI classes. Instead of importing, Ole's actually used the whole fully qualified name, or what's it called? To call it. So this is also, of course, one way to do it.
Yeah, you could.
If you only do it once, it may be fine. But if you use the class in several places, it's probably easier to import it.
Yeah, you could do it like that.
Cool.
Yeah. This was just a brief what do I call it? A brief introduction to the Twitter API, more or less. But the idea was to show how to use the event handlers properly and for something real. If you have an application with OAuth, this is the way to do it. So.
And we'll of course provide the links for creating your own keys using Twitter in the after the event.
And you will get this project, so you can see it for yourself.
Yeah, and use the forum.
And use the forum. Yeah, the forums are great. So
yeah.
That's good.
Because there's a lot of questions we just can't.
Is there a lot coming in now, or what?
No, it's cooling down, maybe because we can't answer all.
Okay.
But we're very happy for all your questions, and we hope some of them are covered in the presentations. We try to cover some in Twitter, and we will have the Q&A. We're running short of time, so we will move on the speed and try to catch up on both Twitter and the forum and the Q&A after here. So speed up.
Speed up. Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, let's. We have basically one thing left.
Exactly.
Right?
Fortunately, we only have one more example to show you, and that's creating your custom script libraries. Because I mean, there are times where it's maybe your scripts within SoapUI maybe starts to become a bit lengthy, and you feel like as an you get this gut feeling that, well, maybe we should break this out into some kind of library or something, rather than having it all in line in SoapUI. Well, the main way to do that within SoapUI is using the scripts library, which I will show you now. Okay. So first, I'd like to show you how to configure the scripts library. If you go to the SoapUI preferences, there's this SoapUI Pro section, which is kind of the name suggests the SoapUI Pro specific configurations. And here we have something called script library. So this is the path to the script library. And by default, I believe this is it's the bin folder or something like that. I'm not sure. It's some kind of default folder in the SoapUI installations folder. But you can also override this by specifying a custom folder if you have it on a shared area or whatever. And for this example, I have this in this custom Groovy library / scripts folder. So if we go, let's see here, if we go into this directory in the file browser, you'll see it here. Right, and this is empty for now. That's fine. And actually, if we look up here somewhere, maybe, I don't know, you can actually see here exactly that SoapUI has set the script library to this folder, which is good. All right, so using our trusty currency converter yet again, I'll show you how you could use a custom script library. So let's start by adding this to a test case, like this. I've seen many times before now, and well, yeah, let's do the good old Scepter and reading crowns there. Oh man, still the same value. Okay, so what if, okay, so in this case we're using the currency code, I believe they call, or ISO codes or something like that. What if we didn't know the currency code for Swedish crowns? What if we only knew the country, like Sweden? Well, this obviously doesn't work because it expects the currency code here. So what if we have some kind of external method that we can call to provide the country and get the country code back? That would be kind of cool. Well, this is how you could do it. Starting off by let's start off by creating a Groovy test step here. That will call that the external library. So let's call this something like get the currency code, maybe, something like this. And let's move that up to the top. Okay, so let's just to try this out, how this works. The interaction between Groovy scripts and request, you could just simply return some hard-coded value here, like SEK. Okay, so let's say that we want to use the return value of this Groovy script instead of something hard-coded here. Well, right-clicking usually is the path to success in SoapUI, and by using this get data menu, we could get the results from this get currency code script by using this property result. So let's run the test case and see if this works. Yeah, it seems so that it did actually. Yeah, it used the SEK code here. Great. Okay, so what if, as I said previously, the scenario was that we didn't really know the currency code. Well, okay, so So what if we had some kind of country to currency to R, right? Currency dot convert that actually could take Sweden as a parameter and return the country code, the currency code. Sorry. Something like that, maybe. Or maybe camel case. No, this is Java syntax, right? Currency code, all right. And then return that instead, or yeah, something like this. Currency code. Yeah, that will be cool, but of course this won't work because we don't have such an clause to call.
Note how he's sublimely introducing test-driven programming as well, although manual test-driven, but still.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't really think about that, but you're right, probably. Anyways, okay. So let's say that we want to call this. Well, now I guess it's the time to create that class, right? So let's head into the scripts folder here. And good practice in Groovy as in Java is to use packages, right? You could use the default package, but that is kind of bad practice, I would say. So let's create some kind of package structure, and this is of course kind of tedious. Right, I'm gonna try to speed up a bit here. So you know you have your good old com, maybe SmartBear, SoapUI, demo. Okay, classic package structure. All right. So let's create a Groovy class here. Let's do a new file here. Could we clean this in some way? There you go. All right. Okay. So here, using this external editor, this could of course be Eclipse or IntelliJ or Notepad++ or Sublime or what have you. Some kind of external editor where you can edit your Groovy scripts. Okay, so let's we start with say creating this actual file called currency converter, or no, sorry, it was called something like country to currency. Right, country currency. Here you go. Okay, so let's start by defining the package. You're always typing smartbear.com at the end. It's kind of stupid. Right, there you have it. Okay, then let's create a class called country to currency. Like this, and let's define a static method that's giving the signs now. Let's define a static method called convert that will return a string, and also take this country name as a parameter, right? Because this is how we like to call it. We like to provide Sweden and get the country code back. Right, so because we're kind of short on time here, I won't show you the full example, but we will provide it later. But you kind of get the feeling of it. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry, of course, I missed one of the curly braces there. Yeah. So of course in this case you actually would do some real stuff here. Real stuff, but like getting it from a map or something like that. But in this case, just to show you how it works, we just return sec here our code. Okay, so let's pretend that actually works. And what's happened here, which is kind of interesting, I don't know if you noticed, something flashed by here, right? And that's actually SoapUI noticing that something has changed here in the scripts folder, namely the class, and it's dynamically loading this class, which is kind of cool, because that means that you can edit your external Groovy scripts while working in SoapUI. You don't have to restart it or anything like that. Okay, so let's call this and cross our fingers that it works. Probably will. So we can just try to make like this. Oh, sorry. Of course, I have to import this first, right? That's smart. Bear that SoapUI.demo. No, sorry. Come free to. Yeah. Oh, yeah, great. Sec. Okay, so let's run this finally. Bam. Okay, so it worked, and this conversion rate is sec. So that's how you do it. That's how you use your external scripts within SoapUI.
And the next step is, of course, to just check it in version control, and you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I mean, because some of you asking for code completion, kind of walk around. In the meanwhile, I guess is to edit this is in Eclipse or something that provides some kind of completion.
I have to ask, did you show the tips and tricks site?
No, I didn't.
Well?
That's a very good tip. Actually, usually the easiest way to get there is so.
Google is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it must be indexing web pages or something. I don't know. You can like
weird.
perform searches and stuff. It's awesome.
Okay, so we'll provide this link also, of course.
Yeah. And there's 3 really important questions that you can answer so very, very quickly. But we have had several questions about data-driven testing with scripting. Could you say something short about that?
Yeah, first of all, it's a pro feature, basically. So you need a SoapUI Pro for it. And second, I strongly recommend you to use SoapUI's built-in features in terms of data-driven testing, because what we have seen is that people tend to get a little bit lost in the programming when they really should be doing testing instead. And basically everything that you can do in SoapUI you can also do in scripting, but it's much harder and takes a lot longer time. So, but it can be done. So.
Yeah. And the other one, a thing that many asked about is performance testing, LoadUI and scripting, and Groovy scripting. What do we say about that?
Well, actually, one cool thing is that the components that's used in SoapUI are actually written in Groovy, and you can write your own custom components using Groovy as well.
In LoadUI.
In LoadUI, oh sorry.
Yeah.
In LoadUI, you're right.
Yeah.
So
we're basically recommending people to use LoadUI
for load
testing. Yeah, and
absolutely.
And you can hack away with Groovy in LoadUI.
Yeah, it's very extensible.
Yeah.
So.
And the third most important question was this one we got. Will learning Groovy give me more confidence when trying to ask out girls?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Groovy is a killer on the pub, so it's in the pub. So just
yeah, of course. I mean, I feel really like after learning Groovy, my sex appeal has really gone through the roof. I mean, you can tell if a man knows Groovy, right?
Despite that Steve Jobs shirt.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of compensates.
Yeah, cool.
It's really So yeah, of course it will help you get the latest.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching us and following us and all the great tips and tricks in the forum, in the chats and on Twitter. You're sending links to each other with really great stuff. Continue doing that on our forum and on Twitter. We're really active here, and thank you so much for watching. Yeah.
We're open source, so you can contribute.
Yeah.
Please do.
We'll try to have a recording out by the end of the week.
Okay, cool.
You can say it. I don't think I'm.
Yeah, the recording of the webinar will be up on our website, and you can find it on YouTube as well. You will find it on SoapUI.org and LoadUI.org at the end of the week.
It's waving to my
and
family.
YouTube. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. It
Awesome.
was very, very nice showing stuff to you.
And it's so much interest of Groovy. We got tons of questions both here and before for the webinar. So I guess you're gonna see more of us about Groovy.
I believe so too.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.